about a month ago, or maybe under a month ago, I had gone to the first high school coach football conference that I've ever attended. So
Yeah.
it was first time at that type of conference, and all the coaches got an Airbnb, so it was real fun. We got to get away and hang out, get to know each other a little more. And this question came up, and I'll tell you, Scott, this caused a lot of people to be, let's just call it, very passionate about the
Okay.
topic. So I'm curious what your take is. The conversation was basically this: who is actually the better college football conference? Is it the SEC or the Big Ten? And what is the rationale behind it? And there was a split, I will say. I think more people said Big Ten. Of course, you have, Michigan, MSU, et cetera, fans, Purdue. And then we had
Yeah.
one singular individual who was very, very stuck on SEC for sure. And he was trying to kind of justify it.
I think the question is loaded. What is the better college football conference right now, the Big Ten or the SEC? And I guess my first question would be, do we mean right now, or do we mean in the last decade, or all time? Because if we're being truthful with ourselves, the SEC was the one-headed monster that was carrying college football for decades, in my opinion. Now, certainly there were other teams that would come through and win national championships occasionally, but the best football teams were coming out of the SEC on the regular for decades.
Mm-hmm.
But we have 3 national championship winners in a row that are from the Big Ten. The Big Ten has been kind of dominating college football, in my opinion, these last few years. And their conference is becoming more well-rounded to where they're having meaningful inter-conference games as well. It's not just Ohio State and Michigan anymore. We've got teams like Oregon. We had Indiana stepping up this year. Occasionally, Penn State is okay, but obviously not this past year. There's other teams that can step up in the conference to provide kind of like, it's not just the direct comparison. I think would be like if you look at like Michigan and Ohio State, then someone might compare that to like, well, Georgia and Alabama. But
Mm-hmm.
then other people might be like, oh, but then there's like Texas and Auburn and Florida, and there's all these other teams that are really good. LSU, Ole Miss, and
Not
they're still
Florida. Not Florida.
no.
No, Florida sucks.
Well, historically though,
Yeah,
historically.
okay. Tim Tebow. I'm saying right now, not Florida,
Okay,
historically,
yeah,
yes.
yeah. But then like then there's the A&M. So I think maybe there's more top
Yeah,
25 teams in the SEC than in the Big Ten.
for
But if
sure.
you take the best 2 to 3 teams out of each conference each year in recent years, then I think the Big Ten might have the better of the top of the conference.
But
I think it's too early. Go ahead.
if you're going depth wise, like if you were to have every SEC team play every Big Ten team, let's just say like you had a simulator or whatever to simulate every single matchup,
Yeah,
who do
like
you think wins?
yeah, I mean, the SEC wins more games than the Big Ten does. If it's just a straight up heads up, like you get 1 point for each win. Because even if like here's my argument here, like even if let's say you've got like Georgia and Indiana playing against each other, and then you've got like I don't know, Ohio State and Alabama, and then Michigan plays Ole Miss. Oregon could play Texas or Texas A&M. But then there's still are like who's left in the Big Ten after that? It's not
There's
going
a
to be
drop off. There
yeah,
is a
you're
drop
not going
off
to
at
talk
some
like
point.
yeah, we're not going to talk about like Michigan State or Washington or Rutgers or Northwestern. Illinois is probably the next one right now currently,
Yeah.
but they would get smoked by half of the SEC teams in my opinion.
But Washington did make the national championship a few years ago. So again, it's a timeline. Like, how long are we talking
Mhm.
in terms of time?
Yeah. So, and then the other thing, I would have to pull statistics on this, but I'm quite certain that when it comes to players getting drafted to the NFL, that the SEC blows away every other conference when it comes
Yeah.
to that. But that would make sense though, if as we're talking, there's more top 25 teams maybe in that conference than in other conferences. So of course there's going to be more players getting drafted. So
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of loaded questions here. Like if we're only talking about which conference is going to win the national championship and defining the best as that, then I'll go Big Ten right now because they've done it
Yeah.
3 times in a row.
That's
But
fair.
if we want depth, then I think SEC still takes that cake.
Yeah. And I won't lie to you. A few years back, before the Big Ten expanded, I did not think the Big Ten was that great. I'm not going to lie. It was like Michigan, Ohio State, maybe one other team from
Maybe
year to
Penn State.
year.
Yeah.
Maybe Penn State, maybe. I mean, I don't even want to say Iowa, but they're like consistently okay. You know what I mean? They're in the Big Ten championship, whatever.
Hmm.
other than that, generally speaking, I mean, the Big Ten didn't really have a ton of depth at all. I mean,
Right.
and it was so imbalanced because you had the way that they split the conference. It was whatever the East and the West or whatever the hell however the
Yeah.
hell they split it.
Yep.
The one side that had Michigan, Ohio State, etc., was way more like loaded than the other. You know what I mean? The other one, it was like when it came to the Big Ten championship, it was like they're playing who? Like it's going to be a walk out, walk through game for whoever wins this side of the bracket, which is usually Michigan or Ohio State most years.
Yeah. And the other team that I slept on when I described this, but USC joining as a part of that expansion is another usually pretty decent team as well.
Yeah,
So I think that adds to the strength of the conference now versus before. But you're right. I mean, the Big Ten before that expansion wouldn't be able to compete at all as a
yeah,
conference against the SEC.
yeah. If you put the lowest teams in the SEC versus the lowest teams in the Big Ten, that's where you see, I think, a large difference. Like the bad
Yeah.
teams in the SEC are better than the bad teams in the Big Ten, generally speaking, from year to
Yep.
year.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and I think the thing that's kind of crazy is you think about like with the expansion. I feel like when I think about the SEC that it has like way more teams than the Big Ten,
mhm,
but it actually doesn't, which is kind of crazy. I think the Big Ten has like 18 teams now, and then the SEC I think has 16. So it actually has fewer
close.
teams.
Yeah, it's
They just
close.
don't have any shitty teams. Like who's the
Yeah,
worst team in the SEC this year? South Carolina, maybe? Oh, no,
yeah.
Mississippi State, actually, probably.
I mean, South Carolina's
Oh, there's
close,
Kentucky. There's Kentucky and Auburn as well. Okay, yeah, there were some bad ones.
and Kentucky could turn it around. We'll see. I mean, they got Will Stein, former Oregon offensive coordinator, as their head coach. We'll see. I don't know. I'm just saying maybe. I'm not guaranteeing, but
I think the biggest question that I would love to hear from other people here is which conference do you think is better for college football or is better in college football, the Big Ten or the SEC? And what criteria do you use to define one as being better than the other? Because that can be rationalized in so many different ways that, I don't know how we answer the question.
yeah. Well, I mean, if you're listening to this, hey, take out your phone, your tablet, whatever. Don't be lazy. Type out your answer. Like I really, I'm truly, I'm waiting for someone to explain to me their thoughts because I want to know what other people's thoughts are on the topic because I've heard a lot of iterations so far from
Yeah.
different people, and I'm curious to hear more. So
I'm curious about this conference that kind of started this whole question here. What was the rationale? What was the justification of saying the Big Ten in that room? Was it just that they're homers, that they're all from Michigan, or
let's just say people had a little bit to drink and
oh,
they were fired up. Let's leave it at that. There was a lot of fired up discussion about
we
it.
love a passionate sports debate with a
Yeah.
little bit of liquid courage
It
rocking.
would have been a good one for the podcast. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, I wish I had my camera. I mean, I had my
Yeah,
phone, but I was like, I'm not gonna just start recording people. That's awkward.
yeah, you needed like a GoPro strapped to you for that one.